everybody. Thank you for coming. My name is Kim Levin. I am the creative director of Arootah. Many of you are very familiar, so thank you for coming back. And as many of you have noticed, this is our largest Manhattan venue we've done for a seminar. The only thing that's larger, I guess, is the Mega Yacht and the Hamptons house. But this is our largest Manhattan venue so far. So thank you for coming and enjoying this seminar. This night's all about health and energy. We have this fantastic book in the back called The Health Principles, which Rich and many people on this stage have written very recently, actually. So we hope you enjoy it. I'm going to start by, bear with me, this might get a little boring, but I am going to read off the disclaimer for all of you. So let's get to it and have some patience. I know it's very long. But the materials and content presented in this seminar are for informational and educational purposes only, are of general nature and cannot address particular circumstances of any individual. They are not intended to take the place of any medical expert, physical, mental, or physiological health care, nor are they meant to diagnose, treat, prevent, or cure any physical, medical, mental, emotional, or psychological ailment, disease, or condition. The materials and opinions are presented herein and are not being offered by Arootah or its representatives, coaches, or employees in the capacity of a licensed therapist, healthcare professional, or mental health expert, and should not be used as a substitute, replacement, or alternative, or proxy for professional, medical, physical, emotional, mental, or physiological healthcare treatment, counseling, therapy, psychoanalysis, substance abuse treatment, or any other mental or physical health advice, guidance, or counsel. Did you all get that? We're about halfway through. You assume sole responsibility for evaluating the merits and risks associated with the use of any information or other content of this seminar. You should maintain a relationship with a physician or other appropriate healthcare provider who is available to provide emergent and urgent care. If you encounter a medical emergency and are not able to obtain care from a primary care physician, contact 911 or report to a hospital emergency department. None of the information collected is covered under the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, HIPAA. Our company will not be held liable for any misuse or misrepresentation of the information provided through the tools. Please counsel with a healthcare professional for any health-related issues or concerns. So thank you for listening to that, as you probably are familiar with similar things. But let's get into the program. You all have goodie bags. It includes a kickstand, so please enjoy those. Showing you off right now. Tonight's all about health and energy, and health equals energy. Rich has firmly believed that for many years. He has started health and wellness programs at Blue Ridge Capital for decades now, and has really noticed the impact that putting emphasis on your health provides for your performance at work. And all of you have jobs, I'm sure, so I'm sure all of you could really use the extra boost for your performance, and you could do that through energy. We just had our annual goal-setting seminar. I recognize a lot of you were there, and a lot of you probably set some goals that relate to your health, which is totally normal and encouraged. However, I'm sure it's already March, and how many of you are maybe not really on top of your health goals so far? Maybe raise of hands. Anyone? Yeah, I know. We're all in this together. So, yeah, health goals are really tough. They're very hard to achieve, but we know you can do it, and we know you can make your dreams become a reality. And how does that happen? Through goal setting and habit training and health coaching, because accountability is your secret weapon to succeed in any of your goals. But it's up to you to establish that accountability structure, and every single day when the times are getting tough, you stay focused on your goals and can achieve them. So I hope all of you are inspired tonight to achieve your goals, and all of you listening at home. We do have many people on Zoom right now, so thank you for joining us from all over the place. And please submit your questions in the chat. We do have a QR code in the center of your table, so the first one on top. the first link on top of that webpage has a place where you can submit questions. So we encourage you to submit any questions and hold your questions till the end if you're going to speak about. But in the meantime, you can submit them digitally through the first QR code on the top. And I will give the floor to the speakers now. So I will start by introducing Rich Bello, who is our CEO. He was the co-founder and COO of Blue Ridge Capital, a hedge fund for over 25 years with over $10 billion of assets under management, with a rather small workforce. And they had a rather great retention rate, must say, we've noticed. And it's really due to people feeling comfortable and happy and satisfied and fulfilled at work. And they had a fantastic corporate wellness program there, massive gym, trainers. We have Colleen here, who was very integral with that corporate wellness program. So without further ado, here's Rich Bello.
Thank you. Check. Thank you, Kim. And thank you all for coming. I know taking 3 hours out of your busy week is a real investment in your time, and you won't be disappointed. There'll be a high return on something like this. So again, thank you all for coming. I'm Rich Bello, the founder and CEO of Arootah. Arootah is a wealth fintech firm specializing in peak performance, primarily for the alternative investment industry. So today our panel is going to be focusing on a topic that is near and dear to my heart, and also the most paramount, by the way, for peak performance, and that's health. Our latest book, as Kim said, is The Health Principles. It's volume 1, The Physical Body. There will be about 3 other volumes. I'll let you guys guess what those could be. It's literally hot off the presses. Literally just got here. So the focus for the panel is going to be to discuss each of the 10 principles. So let me introduce our panel. First, we've got Ryan Maldonado, NASM. He's a passionate entrepreneur and fitness guru from New York City. He's transformed his love for bodybuilding and nutrition into a distinguished career in personal fitness. Ryan's expertise spans functional strength training, cardio, corrective exercise, and nutrition. Next, we have Andrea DeMarco, who's a certified functional nutrition and lifestyle practitioner and holistic health coach with over a decade of experience. Her work centers on eating disorders and trauma recovery through energy medicine and mindfulness. Andrea's approach is based on the healing power of food, and she meets individuals where they are in their health journey. Next, we have Dr. Neil Palvin. He's a multi-board certified physician specializing in family medicine, osteopathic manipulation, and anti-aging and regenerative medicine. Based in Manhattan, he combines traditional and alternative medicine to optimize his patients' health and is a renowned expert in areas like peptide therapy, sports medicine, and brain-gut connection. Next, we have Colleen Brinkner, who's an ERYT 500 certified yoga teacher with over 24 years of yoga experience. She holds multiple certifications, including Thai yoga massage, and is a certified Ayurvedic health counselor and herbalist. Colleen is known for her ability to offer complex spiritual teaching in an accessible, engaging manner, and is the director of Lila Tandava Yoga Teacher Training. Next, we have Alana Rose, an executive director of wellness at Arootah. She's a certified yoga and Pilates instructor and has a background in education and tutoring, and is also a wonderful editor of our book. On my left, we have Christina Labreco, certified yoga instructor in both Hatha and Ashtanga. She's also an advanced pranayama practitioner, a Thai masseuse, Vipassana meditation practitioner, a Sanskrit scholar. She corrected me before. She's like, it's not a. I will go to at the drinks. I'll tell you the story. She lived in India and immersed herself in the yoga lifestyle. Next, we have Dr. Sean Chalemi, owner and primary practitioner of Ren Shen Healing, doctorate in acupuncture and Chinese medicine, Memorial Sloan Kettering certified in acupuncture, and a medical massage, and specialized in medical massage for cancer patients. To Dr. Chalemi's left, we have Leslie Keogh, who's a board-certified health and wellness coach, certified yoga teacher, meditation facilitator, and a Reiki practitioner. Following a 15-year experience in special events and content creation, she now focuses on personal wellness development, creating workspace wellness programs, and coordinating events for purposeful brands through her company, Mediate Montclair. Next, we have Emily Chapman, as a certified integrative health coach with a focus on longevity through gut and brain health strategies. Over the past decade, Emily has adopted a holistic approach to health, resulting in a more joyful life She speaks at conferences, sharing her health journey, and has built a steady health coaching practice from clients from all over the country. And finally, we've got, but not least, we've got Adam Steinhaus, who's recently joined Arootah and oversees our wellness programs, including our health coaching and corporate wellness programs. Oh, and I just found out he does boxing in his spare time, so I need to remember on our morning meetings to be a little nicer to him when I'm giving him feedback.
I'm not a morning person. So.
So here's some of the books. This is a little bit about me. You can read about me online if you like. But let's move on to the next slide. And there we go. So this is our book, by the way. There's some copies out there you can take a look at. And these are the topics we're going to be talking about: prevention, sleep, nutrition, alignment, exercise, weight management, the perils that can kill you, detoxification, stress, and longevity. So Adam, maybe you can talk a little bit about what Arootah is about.
No, of course. Thank you so much, and good evening, everybody. Arootah, founded in 2017, was really built upon the vision Rich really saw and lived by during his time at Blue Ridge Capital. And I know Kim went into a little bit of his background there, and Rich mentioned it as well. But really understanding that employee wellness and really taking care of those that are working hard and obviously have a lot of things going on, making sure that they're being taken care of, that they have time to exercise, sleep is important and prioritized and so forth, has really catapulted us into the moment we're in right now as Arootah, which really focuses on health coaching, one-on-one coaching, workshops, seminars such as this one, as well as corporate wellness. Corporate wellness gives us a great opportunity to also bring that Blue Ridge philosophy into a myriad of different organizations and really ensure that they understand the real needs and why this is really a must-have this day and age here in 2024. So that's just a little bit of what Arootah does. We've also built some incredible software, some SaaS tools that we'll talk about a little bit later, that also allow you to actually not only learn and digest the information you're getting from your coaches, but also live by them and hold yourself accountable. And that's a real big part of the Arootah formula, which is teed up for me right now. For the Arootah formula, it really starts with knowledge, immersing yourself in information, and trying to understand and become proficient in what you're learning. The Health Principles book is a great example. A tremendous amount of time and effort went into really putting the best of book, the greatest hits book together, highlighting 10 key principles that we truly believe are incredibly important for the individual in the individual life. But once you have the knowledge, if you don't do anything with that knowledge, it just sits there. And honestly, you forget it. I like to say, folks on this panel have probably forgotten 80%, 150% more than I'll ever know in some of these topics. But in my experience, if I don't put a process in place to truly take this knowledge and help build upon that, grow, learn, then it's just nothing. It's like a New Year's resolution. You could come up with a great idea on January 1, but if you don't have a process in place to really see it through, it's going to go nowhere. So once you have that process defined, the steps you have to take, and things prioritized, then the technology comes in there. Having a tool to really hold yourself accountable, understand your milestones, your goals, your targets, key dates, key metrics you want to hit is incredibly important for you to hold yourself accountable. And a big part of our coaching philosophy here is not only do you have yourself to hold accountable, but you have your coach. And that's where the expert guidance comes in. Working with someone who understands you, understands your needs, your goals, your milestones, and really, holds your coal to the fire a little bit to ensure that if you have a goal you need to hit on March 1st, they're doing everything in their power to bring this to the forefront and ensure everything is being driven in a transparent manner. So for us at Arootah, we truly believe in this formula right over here. And as it says there, we do believe it results in exponential returns.
Very good. Thank you, Adam. And we're going to jump right into Principle 1. So as you can see, Principle 1 is embracing prevention. And prevention, this is a mindset that people need to have. And these are avoiding the major mortality causes. So as we can see from this table, it depends on the particular disease, but these are the top 10 killers, basically. And heart disease has been the top 10 killer for the last 100 years. We're not making much progress there, and we're kind of going backwards in some sense. But heart disease is 85%. You see that fourth column there, 85% preventable, according to the CDC. Cancer, 45% preventable. COVID, in the way that I like to think about this is, if these diseases are preventable, and they're preventable by lifestyle choices, we're literally choosing to kill ourselves in some very horrendous ways by not making those lifestyle choices. So I'm going to move it to you, Dr. Paulman. Must be incredibly frustrating as a doctor. Is like, why aren't people doing these things if they can? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, the last couple years with things, with wearables and courses like this, people are starting to become much more aware of what they can do. The paradigm is kind of switching from going to the doctor and treating something when you have a disease as now doing things at home and developing a program like you're doing to help prevent developing illnesses that are up there on the board and others. So everything starts with kind of what I call the core four. It starts with exercise. We know exercise for everything from heart disease, diabetes, Alzheimer's disease, is one of the best treatments for those illnesses. So that's something you can do to prevent almost anything that you're dealing with. Sleep is so important in terms of maximizing hormones, decreasing inflammation, helping improve brain health, which again is linked things like Alzheimer's and potentially heart disease. Dealing with your diet. I'm sure we're going to discuss diet more fully through some of the other great speakers on the panel here. But diet, we know, is so important. Lifestyle changes, things as alcohol and cigarette smoking. There's been studies that come out in the last year, time after time after time, showing that we now know that people who stop smoking, even if they've been smoking for 40 years and a pack a day, will at least regress to some degree, and if they stop pretty early, may regress to normal where they were before. So same thing with reducing or stopping alcohol completely. Andrew, you're meant to he's kind of become one of the standard bearers for that, about not drinking any alcohol, how alcohol is related to just illness completely, Alzheimer's, heart disease. Again, we kind of notice a pattern here that simple things that you can do at home without much change, very inexpensive, to help prevent and potentially limit chronic disease.
Got it. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And you know, there does seem to be some things that are going against us. Commercial interests don't seem to be on our side. You know, the tobacco companies, the alcohol, the folks that are making food for us, processed foods, they're not on our side. So it's a real fight, and we're going to talk a little bit more about this when we get to the perils. And then, you know, in my view, that there's just they're preying on the survival instincts, which are focused on short-term gratification as opposed to long-term fulfillment. So it seems like they're hacking the system. They know exactly what we're programmed for, and they're just taking advantage of that. So when we're talking about these things, Dr. Chillemi, what are some of the preventive? You have more of an Eastern view of things. What are some of the preventative measures that people can take to lower the risk of these top 10 causes?
So in general, there's three main concerns. If you're not eating well, sleeping well, or eliminating waste out of your body well, you're going to have a lot more trouble in general. We call them the three bigs. But when you start to focus on your emphasis on clean eating, clean breathing, clean exercise, managing your mental capacity and your fortitude for like emotional regulation as well, balancing relationships, you can really start to bring what in Taoism, being the Eastern mindset, is what we refer to as the Sandan Huyi, which is the unification of the mind, body, and the spirit. So as you begin to unify those three aspects of what make up who we are fundamentally, as I mentioned someone earlier, is referred to as your Junren, your true self, which I think is one of the foundational principles behind Arootah. It may not use the same terminology, but we're all here to really optimize your peak performance and determine who you really were sort of truly meant to be. And these are great methods being developed by Rich and many other practitioners. Rich has a fantastic way of putting them in an order and a system so you can actually accomplish them. But to really identify who you are as a true self is going to really optimize your way to be as fundamentally healthy as possible. And then everything becomes secondary to that. When your spirit and your heart are in alignment, everything else begins to fall back in place. So you use everything as a tool to your benefit to optimize yourself.
Got it. And, sorry, I just got a quick flashback to you poking me with 100 needles and saying this is good for you, and it is. So Emily, let's turn it to you. So how do you think society can shift from a treatment-focused healthcare model to a prevention-focused healthcare model? Well, I was going to ask Emily, do you have thoughts on that? Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I mean, in terms of preventative care, it really is like functional medicine doctors used to be in the basement at Cornell Medical. If you look at Dr. Richard Isaacson, he's the top functional medicine doctor in neurological diseases. He wrote the book on Alzheimer's. So now people are starting to understand that healthcare is all about taking care of themselves and being the CEO of their own health. And so it's an education process. And in terms of alcohol and tobacco, it's really education, as well as the number one thing for alcohol is alcohol screenings. It works. So I think in terms of preventative care, we're seeing a switch, a change. I think the younger people are really hip to new ideas, and I think the world is getting a lot better, but it's got a long way to go.
Got it. So Adam, maybe we can turn back. I know you talked a little bit about health coaching, but if somebody was interested in prevention, how would a health coach help them out in something like this?
Yeah, I think having a individual health coach, someone to guide you, and that understands, has context on your background, where your trends are, what your habits are, what your goals are. They'll really be able to keep you abreast of new information, new news, and new data that's coming out there that you really need to be you need to keep in focus in a real-time fashion. So I do think working with an individual health coach, think of it as a guide, someone who will shepherd you kind of throughout that. And help you build out your health plan to ensure that you're having these necessary checkpoints and staying on top of everything, especially as news is continuing to evolve and more data is being is out there every single day.
Maybe you can talk a little bit about the assessment that we have for folks. I think there's one of these.
Yeah, so there's a QR code everywhere. They wanted to put one on my shirt, but I said no. So the health assessment to me is the most exciting part of this. As someone who, my anchor for my life has been exercise, and I always found all my other kind of pillars of taking care of myself were all generated from that foundation, which was exercising, eat healthy, my sleeping habits, stress, and so forth. So we built a health assessment that really it took me 7 minutes last night to go through this. And it really goes through the 10 core principles in the book. And it asks you in an interactive assessment quiz form just a bunch of questions to help highlight and bring to the forefront where you're really successful in kicking butt, with sleeping habits and eating habits, and honestly where there's some red flags and things you need to keep at the forefront. So I took this assessment last night. It took me 7 minutes. I did it after I put my daughter to bed. And I was feeling like a rock star. I thought I was really doing well in the exam. And then I got to food. And I just had a fried chicken sandwich and 2 bowls of fries about an hour and a half before with my daughter. And I was like, okay, yeah, so I failed, right? And it's important that, I have something at my fingertips that's kind of putting all the pieces of that pie together. Because until I saw that, it really didn't hit. And I was at the gym for an hour and a half that morning, and I completely, wiped it out with a delicious fried chicken sandwich. But at the end of the day, it's decisions. So this assessment really got me into the mindset to really take a step back and look in the mirror of where I'm at. So you take this assessment, you're given an aggregate score. I knew what my score was after that. And then one of the coolest things we're doing is, right after you take the assessment, you can set up immediately a one-on-one coaching call with one of our wellness experts. We say it's a 30-minute call. Literally, no one is looking at a stopwatch. And really what this is designed to do is to really help you understand the results, dig into it, go, principle by principle, where you're succeeding, where you're not. And the one challenge we have, and I think my microphone might be going, but I'm from New York, so I'm loud, is we will challenge you to bring your biggest concern, your biggest issue, right to the forefront and talk to our coach about that. And I really believe if you walk away from that 30, 45, 60-minute session and you don't believe you have a path forward or you're going in the right direction, obviously Arootah is not for you, but I'd be shocked. Because at the end of the day, we're here to promote coaching. We're here to promote taking care of yourself. And I'm really proud of the assessment that we've put together, and I highly encourage everybody to take a look at the QR codes on every table and on these banners and really take advantage of that.
Yeah, so these sessions are not, they're not sales calls. These are legitimately coaching calls. You're going to bring, as Adam said, bring your toughest challenge. In this instance, you're going to bring a health challenge, whatever it might be. And the assessment is a It's a gap analysis, basically. Good on sleep, so you get to see when you meet with the coach, good on sleep, ooh, or as Adam found out, thought I was good, but yeah, food, nutrition, ooh, all the fried foods and all. So it's an assessment. And bottom line is it's a gap analysis. And so we'll show after each one of the topics, we're going to show suggested, I think a lot of these are mine, in fact, suggested goals and habits. This is just an example. Your goals and habits will be different. And at the end of the program, we're going to go through a fitness map for yourself. It's a blueprint for your health in all of these different areas, a lot of them that Dr. Paulman was talking about, in sleep, in nutrition, in exercise. How am I doing here? Good here? No, need some goals here, need to improve my habits here. We have some technology that we'll talk about in a little bit. So let's move on to the next topic, which is principle 2, and that is sleep. Now, I think people are finally starting to realize, and Dr. Paulman, this is really getting out there now, sleep. Everybody's starting to realize there's a lot of books out there on that. And when I first started reading about it, I knew I wasn't getting enough sleep. So I told everybody I knew I'm going to do a seminar on health because the primary topic is going to be sleep. So I was in my hotel room reading the book, Matthew Walker's book on sleep. And it's 2 in the morning. I've worked hard as usual. It's 2 in the morning reading. It's like, sleep is really important. I got to get some sleep. It's 2 in the morning. It's like, I got to get some sleep. So I realized how important it is. Sleep is, lack of sleep is kind of a badge of honor in the business world, right? Sacrificing sleep for work. We even say, well, let me catch some Z's. Can we make it any lower priority by saying catch some Z's? No, it should be catch some A's. The last letter in the alphabet, for God's sake. So, or I'll sleep when I'm dead. So let's dive into this topic on sleep. This is the reason why it's principle number 2. This is debatable on what the order is in terms of priority for health, but sleep is so important. It's a foundation. So Leslie, what are the effects of sleep deprivation, and can you actually make up sleep? Can you catch up on sleep? It's like, I'll catch up on the weekend, or is it a cumulative thing?
Well, sleep deprivation affects us mentally, emotionally, and physically. Right? So at the different levels of the brain waves, we work on and repair different levels. So when you move from the beta waves during the day to the alpha waves, which is like your transition from the conscious to the subconscious, when you get into the theta waves, your brain has a chance to organize the thoughts and the feelings, and you're emotionally processing. When you get into the deep delta waves, that's when we detox at a cellular level, and we prevent the cardiovascular diseases, excuse me, and diabetes. And so if you're not getting the really deep REM sleep in those delta waves, you're not accessing all the options your body has to repair at night. And so if you think you can lose an hour Monday through Friday, and then make up a few on the weekends, it doesn't work that way, because if you're just napping for an hour here, or maybe adding an hour there, you don't have the option to get down into the really deep, restorative, nourishing levels of brain waves in the REM sleep.
So we think we might be able to catch up on it, but we really can't. Or what I've learned, and I wear my Oura ring to measure sleep, but we may be thinking that we're getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep, but we're actually not getting good sleep if we're not getting those cycles. We're not getting the deep sleep and the REM sleep. And I'll see it's like, got 9 hours, which never happens for me. Got 7 hours, but then I look at my Oura ring, it's like, oh, but I only got 23% with sleep. It's like, no, fail, or even REM. They're both important. So that's what you're saying. It's not, it's not just that. But what are some sleep hygiene? I know you're one of the sleep experts on the panel, so I'm going to stay with you for a second. What are some sleep hygiene strategies that you
first,
recommend?
It's good to have a schedule. I mean, they've all talked about the schedule and having goals and stuff, but it's good to have a schedule where you're going to bed at the same time and you're waking up at the same time, right? Find your circadian rhythms, and then your body will start to tell you when it's time to go to sleep if you're consistent with the hours you're going to bed. Secondly, you want to be mindful of what you're consuming before you go to sleep, and that includes what you're eating. So, we want to watch sugar, we want to watch alcohol, we want to watch caffeine in those hours, leading up to going to bed. But also, what are you consuming? What are you reading? What are you scrolling through, right? What are you talking to people about? Because anything that's going to work you up, we've all laid in bed at night thinking about the last fight we just had with somebody or what you just read online or whatever. So what you consume physically and mentally is going to affect your sleep. So that kind of includes the no screens, right? The hour before you go to bed. And I like to tell my clients not to eat for the last 2 hours before you try to go to bed. Also, your environment, you want to have your room to be as close to a cave as possible, right? Really dark. If you can have blackout shades, if it can be cool, in the 60s, you want it to be kind of chilly. That's optimum for sleeping. Also, the room should be kind of clean and neat, right? You don't want it to feel cluttered so that when you go into what's supposed to be your what's the word I'm looking for? Your sanctuary at the end of the night, you don't want to get in there and feel like, I have to put all the clothes away.
Yeah, you don't
right?
want to work in your bed. Like
Right.
that's for sleep. Your bed is your place for sleep. Emily, go ahead.
One more, sorry.
Sure.
One more thing. The way you can move from your beta waves, which is our thinking most of the day, to your theta waves, which is entry-level sleep. All the mindfulness practices, meditation, journaling, listening to music, if you're in a supine position with your legs the same rate or same level as your heart, that drops your blood pressure, right? All the stretching, all the things you can do to quietly, you're training your brain to drop into theta waves, preparing for sleep. That's it, like Shavasana at the end of your practice. You're training your body to drop into rest.
Very good. And Emily, I know you also are really passionate about sleep, this topic. Anything to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about sort of the fundamental roles of sleep, really. Rest and recovery. I mean, you're
You
resting.
need to hold on. Give a microphone.
Oh, sorry. You're recovering from the day, your joints, muscles, and tissues. So that's really important, as well as the cognitive, which Leslie mentioned. That is when you are storing everything you've learned that day. So if your REM sleep is off, you're not going to store as many memories, and so and you're not going to perform as well the next day in your office. So very important. Also very important for your metabolic health, as well as your gut health and your immune system. Lack of sleep is one of the risk factors of obesity. We know that, it's been proven, and so it's crucial. I also wanted to mention mental health, because that's another thing. It's very crucial for your mental health, and a lot of people that don't get a lot of sleep suffer from depression and anxiety. So.
Yeah, that's a good point. And people may wonder why we're not talking a lot about it. That's volume 2, it's physical body. But it is. I mean, a lot of these things overlap. So it's good that you mentioned that. So Dr. Paulman, there are these common sleep disorders. There are a few of them that maybe you can talk about that you may have some remedies for.
Sure. I mean, there's several out there that we have better treatments than we do for others. A lot of it is what we've already talked about, is sleep hygiene. But we know now that it depends not just what you do when you go to bed. It starts when you wake up, how you wake up, are you exposed to morning sun. I mean, the first condition is, there's different forms of it. We're not going to do a deep dive, obviously. Is it just insomnia in general? There's different causes of it. It could be hormonal. It could be your sleep hygiene itself. It could be traumatic. It could be patients, unfortunately, with Alzheimer's or some other neurodegenerative issues. That it leads to forms of insomnia. We have sleep apnea, which has become a real hot button topic. I think partially because you said we have to check people for sleep issues in the hospital, and trying to sleep in a weird, if you've been in a hospital in general, it's not a great place to sleep no matter what you're feeling like. But if you're just trying to go to sleep to see how well you're sleeping, it kind of sucks. So now we're able to do most sleep testing at home, and there's so much cool technology where we're able to determine, is it sleep apnea? Do you have some type of restless leg or nocturnal hyperclonus, or what's going on to evaluate your sleep? And then we can determine treatment plans, which could be, again, more just how you're sleeping. We don't have to put the big CPAP or BiPAP mask on you anymore. There's very small devices that you can use. There's a lot of new technology that will be coming out in the next year or two, like when used to help sleep apnea. Sleep apnea, we now know, can lead to diabetes and obesity and Alzheimer's and heart disease. So it's, again, in the next year or two, it's going to kind of join kind of the other things that we've been talking about in terms of sleep and exercise. We now know not only it's how long you sleep, but what the quality of sleep you're getting, and are you having any type of sleep abnormalities.
Yeah, sleep apnea, big one. Andrea, any supplements that people can take, or even food that helps them with sleep? I mean, I know melatonin. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think there's
melatonin being the one that everybody's talking about
Yeah.
recently. Supplements in general, very individualized, very specific. And so, especially when it comes to sleep, I take the approach of less is more with any supplement.
And magnesium. Sometimes you hear people
Magnesium
talk
as
about
well,
magnesium
yes.
as well.
Magnesium is very
for sleep.
important.
What are some of the key measurements? Is anybody familiar with the Aura ring or the Root? Anybody have an Aura ring besides me on stage? There we go. So do you measure your sleep? You know?
I do monitor my sleep. I don't know what it all means, though.
Yeah,
Right, yeah.
I mean, there are some common measurements. The total sleep, I'm going to have some of them here in front of me. I think they might be on the screen. Sleep latency, how long it takes to fall asleep after you get into bed. That's a big one. But I think probably the two most important, well, there's three maybe, is REM sleep, the duration of your REM sleep. You want to have that be at least 20 to 25% of your total sleep. And then non-REM sleep, which deep sleep is a part of that. Again, that should be a nice sized percentage of your sleep. Sleep is in different cycles. You want to get a few of these cycles in. And I forget who said it on the panel, but if you're getting naps, I think maybe it was you, Leslie, if you're getting naps in, sometimes you're not getting the cycle in. But naps can help. But that's a whole other. And HRV, I think an HRV is more, it definitely is a sleep measurement, and it's just a great indication of your health overall. But let's move on to the next topic. They say you can't multitask, but I'm going to give it my best. So here's some of the goals and habits. Again, this is just an example. We have I forget, Adam, did we talk about the goal manager and the habit?
We haven't yet.
And the habit tracker. So really, this is what you'd get, if you work with our coaches, is a habit tracker. I've been doing it for 20 years, and building this. First was in Excel. Now we've spent tons of resources, lots of programmers building this. It's an app in the App Store, the habit tracker, the Arootah habit tracker. And I think you did talk about, so technology is a big part of working with our coaches. And then we have a goal manager also. So you set your goals. So you'd set your goals in sleep. What would some goals be here? So we get 4 to 5 full sleep cycles, which should be approximately 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night. But as we said, you might get 7 to 9 hours, but you might not get these cycles because you might be waking up at 3 a.m. It's a big thing. People wake up in the middle of the night. And then, as either Emily or Leslie mentioned, you want to have a consistent bedtime and wake time. Right, it's really important to have that. And then so some of the habits that you'd have: set an alarm to go to bed and wake up at the same time each day, and then measure your sleep statistics each day. Get into these habits. Really important to do these things if you care about your health. So now we're going to talk about nourishing your body, right? Principle 3. And nourishing your body is, it's nutrition. So this is sustaining vitality through nutritional exercise. Building on our understanding of the importance of sleep, we're going to now explore how important nutrition is, how crucial it is to our health and vitality. And nutrition is both the art and the science of nourishing our body. It's not just, it's not one or the other. It's focusing on the essential nutrients that fuel our well-being. Now remember, our journey through nutrition is deeply personal. I've had some good conversations with Andrea about this. It reflects our unique needs and goals. And let's empower ourselves now with some knowledge about making informed choices and transforming the way that we think about and how we interact with food. So Andrea, there's so many diets out there. There's got to be one that's the best for everybody. You have the secret. You're a nutritionist. Fess up. Which is the best one for everybody?
None.
Come on,
No,
there's got to be one that's good for everybody.
There isn't. There is not one single diet that will work for everybody on earth.
I'm being some facetious. Anyway, I know that's your feeling. I happen to believe that as well. I read a book called Metabolic Profiling, which aligns with that. I don't know if that's a popular term, but it's exactly that. I went through, one of my colleagues, Diana, is here. She saw it, went through this weeks and weeks of, they tested every single thing. It came up with a gigantic book. This is your ideal diet. But as we talked about, I think it's more just testing and seeing how you feel. But how do you work with your clients in figuring out what their ideal fuel is?
So the first thing that I do with my clients is I get a very detailed health history. Depending what their goals are, will determine how far back I go. It could be all the way from their birth through now. And then I figure out what they're currently eating as a baseline, and I tend to work backwards. So there's a little bit of experimentation because we just don't know if something will work until we test it. And from there, it's kind of a balance of nutrient profiles, making sure they're getting the nutrient profile that they need for their body to sustain their health goals specifically.
And then, I believe you told me you take 30 to 35 supplements a day. I'm kidding. I know you don't take that many, but you will supplement. How do you feel about supplementation, micronutrients and supplements?
Micronutrients are definitely important. Those are our vitamins and minerals, so it is essential that we do get them in our diets. In terms of using supplements, I definitely take a less is more approach, and this just comes from the fact that they should be a supplement to a healthy diet that is mostly based in whole foods.
Got it. And then phytonutrients, I was reading some, going through some books and stuff, and weirdly I was reading about it, and then in my kitchen we were preparing some of the food. The chefs here were preparing some of the foods, and asking me, is there something that they can make that's super healthy for us? And as he's showing it to me, it's Ferris and Sebastian. Thank you, Ferris and Sebastian, by the way, for providing the wonderful food to us and the Mindful Cafe. When he asked me this, he was chopping up all kinds of peppers, and like they have different colors. As the colors of the red, I just read that morning, is the colors of the rainbow are what you're supposed to be doing. And so the different colors, reading that the different colors have different phytonutrients. Is that true?
Yes, it is. So Eat the Rainbow is a very simple way to think about how to make sure that you're getting all of those specific micronutrients that we were talking about. Making sure that you get a large variety of colors will pretty much ensure that you're getting the vitamins and minerals that you need throughout the day.
I don't like peppers, but so it might be a problem for me. They're going to find other like orange and red things. So that's pretty interesting. So Dr. Paulvin, I know that you have expertise in the microbiome, and should we all be taking probiotics, prebiotics, postbiotics? And can you talk a little bit about the microbiome?
Sure. Microbiome, again, another topic that's kind of growing and growing in terms of just kind of being a buzzword to now we're knowing how to use it and treat it and how to use it appropriately. So in terms of supplementation, I always tell patients right now, if you can get tested, because we can get a lot of data what's missing, and we can get, if we find you're missing Akkermansia or lactobacillus, we can actually replace that specifically, as opposed to taking too much of one, which is almost as bad as having not enough of it. Because when we look at the microbiome, we're not just looking, again, at having A, B, C, and D. We want to have a balance between A through E, and we also want to have the right amount of each one of them and not have too much of C or less of A. So that's important. So we used to not be able to have that distinction. The key now we're knowing, as you mentioned, is we need to use prebiotics, which feeds our bacteria in our gut, and we also need to have the postbiotics, things like butyrate, which has become kind of the most common one that people talk about at this point, as well as others, that are productions from our bacteria that are also very helpful in terms of healing the gut, decreasing inflammation, brain health. So you need to be having the appropriate bacteria in your gut, but you also want to be feeding your gut. As people have mentioned, you can do that through food. Things like onions, artichokes, a lot of the green foods, but also kind of the contradiction there is a lot of those foods will interact with patients with things like SIBO or celiac disease, so it's kind of a very fine line, a little dance to do, and then getting a good probiotic that has the right bacteria. It's not having the most of it, it's having the best quality. I don't know if we're supposed to name names or not, I probably won't at this point. And then again, getting the postbiotics, I think everybody should be taking butyrate at this point. The data is just pretty much undeniable at this point.
Interesting. Right. So these are typical things. Hopefully, people are paying attention, thinking about their goals, their habits. We're doing this, as Andrea said, it's kind of I always look at my own body, my own health as a science experiment. Test different things. This works. That doesn't work. How do you feel? So, question on electrolytes. Ryan, you generally think about electrolytes in exercise, and being our resident trainer. What can you tell us about electrolytes?
So electrolytes is going to be essential when you're working out, because what it's doing is hydrating your muscles, it's keeping your body hydrated. When you're dehydrated, that's when it's going to cause you to have symptoms of feeling faint, feeling lightheaded, feeling very tight, causing a lot of cramping in your body. But just on a daily basis, just keeping your body hydrated with electrolytes through the water that you're consuming, making sure that you're not drinking tap water, but you're drinking more alkaline water or getting more of a mineral-based water. Or you can even supplement with Himalayan sea salt, Celtic sea salt. Adding that to your water is going to just ensure that your body is just feeling hydrated throughout the day. You're not feeling foggy. It's also going to help to prevent a lot of migraines and headaches throughout the day, especially if you rely on caffeine throughout the day, you're drinking a lot of coffee. That's going to cause you to feel dehydrated, even if you're drinking tea, green tea. So it's really important to make sure that you're supplementing with electrolytes, making sure that you have a quality electrolyte supplement, or just doing the natural route using Celtic sea salt, which is what I use. I start my day off with that, and that just helps to prime my body throughout the rest of the day to make sure that I'm staying hydrated, and then doing that throughout the day, making sure that I'm getting good quality water, using Himalayan sea salt, adding that to your foods, making sure that you're not using like a cheap table salt. But that's just going to be overall important for just making sure that your muscles, your joints are able to stay healthy. You're not getting a lot of cramps when you're working out, and just throughout the days. It's also going to help to prevent you from feeling stiff as well.
So that's a good transition into water. And I'm not sure if people really think about water and nutrition. We're trying to figure out where to put it in the 10 principles. So I kind of have it spread out both here and also in the detoxification question. But Christina, maybe you can tell us about, what role does water play in nutrition as opposed to the detoxification, which we'll get into later, and how much water should we be drinking? You're not afraid to answer this.
I'm not the right person.
Obviously not afraid to answer it.
No, I'm not afraid to answer this. I think my microphone's not on, though. Ryan talked a little bit about kind of not all water is made the same. Tap water, you're fueling the body with chemicals, who knows what's in that water. Even though it's safe to drink and we're not going to die from it, it's not necessarily the best choice. And so to make sure the body's getting nutrients, you want to stick with a spring water that's got the naturally occurring electrolytes, you're getting the minerals, and you're feeding the body with what it needs to actually feel hydrated. Mineral water the same. And even to stay away from, not necessarily stay away from, but to think about distilled water, because it's essentially flat and dead. They distill it to a vapor, they condense it back into a liquid, and it kind of loses all of the mineral content that you would really need to feel the hydration and the electrolytes that the body feeds on. And so you're tasting flat water, everybody can taste that Aquafina, Dasani, like emptiness, and it's not alive anymore in terms of what we need for the body to feel nourished. In terms of how much water to drink, I drink 2 to 3 liters of water a day. I think I was told that it's half your body weight in ounces. I'm not sure, I think Ryan or somebody had said that to me in one of our pre-discussions. You really know by the color of your urine, to be honest. Yeah, if it's a light pale yellow, then you're in a good hydration zone.
Also, really quick, I want to chime in really quick. Plastic is a real big thing that you want to be aware of if you are, focusing on quality water. You want to avoid drinking water from plastic water bottles because there's so many harmful chemicals in plastic. Now, if you're on a go and you're trying to get something in a pinch, then just make sure that there is a label that says BPA free when you are getting your water. But for the most part, you want to prioritize using a stainless steel water bottle. That's just going to ensure that you're not getting those harmful chemicals that leaks into your water as well.
Very good. Yeah, that's a really good point. So here are some goals and habits. Again, this is just a couple. There are so many that we've heard here. You have to figure out your own. That assessment's a great way to figure it out. So let's dive into the next topic, which is principle 4, how to structure your body, lining for optimal wellness. And there's some debate. I was thinking about this. First of all, should it be nutrition or exercise? Which is next? There's a good debate as to which is more important. The answer, they're both important. But even before exercise, you want to think about structure. So as you're delving into this, Robert Urich's words, a healthy outside starts from the inside, reminds us the integral connection between our internal nourishment and our external framework. So now we've explored nutrition, laying the groundwork for our health. We're going to turn our focus now to the skeletal and muscular systems that compose our physical form. So this principle emphasizes the critical role of our body structure and alignment in overall health. So by understanding and optimizing the body's alignment, we unlock a new dimension of wellness, preparing us for the active principles that are going to follow this principle, which will be exercise, obviously. So this understanding is pivotal before diving into exercise. A well-aligned body ensures the efficiency, safety, and maximum benefit of our physical activity. So let's explore this with the panel. Dr. Chillemi, why is structural alignment crucial for our overall health?
So structures are the way that our body is literally composed with muscles, bones, connective tissue, and it's the way we move, the way we interact with the world around us. So when we're structurally misaligned in other ways, we wind up wearing away the joints, wearing away the cartilage, the ligaments, the connective tissue. We can also wind up predisposing yourself to early cardiac disease just posturally. If your ribs are coming close and being pushed over the heart for 10, 15, 20 years with stress, your heart is going to be working harder to pump because the structures are being pushed against it. If your shoulders are lolling forwards, I see this with teenagers that I work on in high school. You notice the kids who are the heavy athletes, where they don't use the backpack, they stand up nice and tall and straight. They've got very positive, outgoing energy. And then you see the kids with their big backpacks, their shoulders slumped forward, they feel less good about themselves, they feel more depressed, they feel more reclusive, more introspective. That's occluding the meridians and the chi that allows these emotions to properly be manifested and exposed to, again, allow them to become more naturally who they are. But correcting those structures can change the mood, can change the personality, can change the physicality of the body as well, and allow them to be much more prone towards optimization of their health and well-being.
So Ryan, why don't you jump in here? So how does posture impact our health and our daily activities? I know we chatted about this a couple of days ago. How does it impact our health and our daily activities?
Yeah, so your posture is gonna dramatically impact everything that you do, because if you have poor posture, think about it as a ship sailing in the sea. If that rudder is off by 1 centimeter, eventually that ship is going to be completely derailed and it's going to be pointed in the wrong direction. The same thing with your posture. If your head is constantly, rounded forward, you're constantly on your phone, you're on your laptop, on your different tech devices, or just overall the way that you're moving throughout the day, if you're doing that chronically for days, weeks, months, years, that's just going to lead to a whole slew of dysfunction. It's going to affect the way that your foot is striking the ground, and that's going to lead all the way up through your joint system. It's going to affect your knees, your hips, your lower back, your spine, your neck, your shoulders, everything. So a strategy that I always try to implement, not only with myself, but also with clients that I work with, is decompressive breathing. So with decompression breathing, what you're thinking about is you want to focus on lengthening through the crown of your head. You want to focus on expanding the rib cage 365 degrees around, and focus on deep breathing, because that breathing is going to ensure that you're getting enough oxygen not only into your lungs but also into your blood. It's going to focus on ensuring that your spine is in alignment, that you're not using poor movement patterns, you're not in balance, you don't have restrictions from one side to the other, and then building upon that. But your breathing and your overall posture, the way that you position your head on your spine, is going to deeply impact your spine, is going to impact your joints, is going to impact your heart, it's going to impact your lungs. Because another thing too is, if you're constantly in this compressed position, what you're doing is you're compressing your lungs, which is going to cause shortness of breath constantly. So you're going to be a lot more winded, and you're going to just have poor endurance, and then it's just going to create a lot of chronic dysfunction.
That's a good segue into so Colleen, our resident, I know we have a few yoga instructors, but you've been doing this for quite some time, and my instructor, so I know how good you are. So tell me a little bit about yoga, and maybe you can also add a little bit of pranayama, the Eastern piece of it, into the conversation.
So I think of yoga as a branch of Ayurvedic medicine, and in Ayurveda, the idea is that your breath and your alignment are the way in which your body optimizes your digestion, and your digestion is your fire that helps you to move through life. So when your head, I'm going to build on what you said, when your head is aligned directly over the base of the spine and you're taking a deep diaphragmatic breath, the diaphragm is then pressing down on your stomach in a rhythmic way, and it's churning all the digestive juices. So it's really like the first line of defense in having healthy digestion. So yoga is then looked at as a way in which we align the body so that we can digest well, right? And then breathing too, so that rhythmic breath is turning, the juices, and it's helping your body flow. So it's considered the optimal blueprint that we're trying to align to.
Alana, so Pilates, a little bit more recent, but probably takes from some of the ancient stuff. Can you talk a little bit about Pilates in terms of structure and core?
Yes.
I was actually really looking forward to using my microphone for the first time, so thank you for asking me. Just for a moment, I wanted to back up just a little bit to yoga because I teach yoga as well. And something that occurred to me when Colleen was speaking is that one of the things that my clients say to me when they come for a yoga session, either one-on-one or in a class, is my back hurts. My back hurts and I'm here because my back hurts. And it's kind of like, I wish you came here sooner because we could have alleviated this sooner. So yoga, I just wanted to add, is excellent in terms of alignment of the spine. Of course, what Colleen was saying about the digestive juices and digestion is amazing, but I also wanted to mention about aligning your spine and lengthening your spine in terms of yoga it's really excellent. And a lot of my students, clients, have had a lot of success in yoga to relieve back pain. In terms of Pilates, Pilates was actually created by Joseph Pilates, who was sadly bedridden, and he was looking to develop a movement that could keep his body active, that it could bring more muscular integrity to him when he was in a state of near paralysis. And so from that place, he developed Pilates, which focuses on your core. And in developing your core, you are strengthening throughout the rest of your body. In the core development, we want to develop the core and not just our abdominals, but we want to develop the strength in our backs as well. So we have basically like a circle of strength in our center, right? And in terms of alignment, we want to feel strong and aligned in our center, right? Both physically and in terms of how we're arriving in our lives and arriving in the world. So Pilates is based on the core, and we also move out from the core to do some, let's say, toning, lengthening exercises that certainly help with alignment, and it starts with the core and with the spine.
I thought I had a really strong core, and I do a lot of yoga, and then I asked Lana to show me some Pilates, and she kicked my core. It was not as easy as I thought. So I skipped the next session. Real quick, because we got to move into the next topic, we got a little bit of a late start. Dr. Chalemi. I've known Dr. Chalemi for a long time. It's hard for me to call him Dr. Chalemi. What happens when we get out of alignment? Real quick, what do we do? So, come see me. That's what I do. I was like, I don't know. Whatever you do, you're the only one that I will let.
I'll realign you in 7 minutes.
In 30, 45 seconds, tell us, what do we do when we get out of alignment?
Typically, you want to either be standing or laying, depending on if you're in a lot of discomfort from the alignment, but focus again on your breathing kind of derives from a lot of the meditation and yogic practices, because your muscles and bones and skeleton will naturally release a lot of stress they're holding on unknowingly and subconsciously through the breath, which is why breathing is so significantly important, as literally everybody here has mentioned. You can't live without breathing. But as you want to either stand or lie down, do a sort of a mental note from the top of your head and feel where the tensions are, where they're being held, and consciously make an effort to release and relax and release and relax all the way from your head, all the way down to your neck and your shoulders and your fingers, down to your hips and your back and your toes and your core. And sometimes just a simple action of either standing or laying while you're doing that will literally free up a lot of subconscious tension and allow your body to, at the very least, be more aware of any indication of where there's stronger misalignments that may need a bit more of a force of correction, or prevent those from happening if they're now in the initial stages of just being held from stress and tension.
Good stuff. So again, here's some example of some goals and habits. There's a lot more that you can come up with. So let's move on to our next topic, which is Principle 5, energizing through exercise, right? Igniting your strength and endurance. So exercise, everybody knows exercise is important. There's always the, what's more important, exercise and nutrition? They're both important. So let's get right into it. Let's ask some questions of the panelists. Ryan, it's okay, we might have a little debate here. It's always the age-old question. I was opening up a book the other day, to Peter Attia's book, and actually, this is a true story. A cousin Jack, there he is, saw me. I was like, I like opening up a book to like right into the middle. This is a new book by Peter Attia about longevity. I opened it up right to the middle, and it talked about exercise. And it said John Griffin was asking me, he said, my good friend John was asking me the other day, all right, which is it, aerobic or anaerobic? Which is more important? So John Griffin, for those of you who don't know, is my partner and co-founder of Blue Ridge Capital. It's like, John, I was like, is that John? So he texted him. I was like, John, is that you? He's like, yeah, I asked him like this 10 years ago. And, Peter came up with I won't give you the answer because I want to hear the panelists. But which is more important, Ryan? Aerobic or anaerobic?
So, I mean, it's hard for me to choose which one is more important. I'm more favorable to anaerobic exercise because I'm a little vain. That's kind of why I got into working out and lifting weights, because I wanted to develop my body. But also, I have scoliosis and I have 2 herniated discs in my neck. So I knew that I needed to really prioritize strength training to be able to strengthen my spine, strengthen my back. And I never allowed doctors or physical therapists create limitations on what I was able to do with my body. So I purposely pursued weightlifting so that I wouldn't allow my spine to prevent me from being able to get stronger, be more confident in my body, and also just do just pretty impressive things with my body. So I choose anaerobic exercise, but aerobic exercise is also very important. How many people in here love to go to the gym and lift weights? So I'm sure you can relate to, the benefits of doing it. For one, it's going to help lead to fat burn. It's going to help you to burn more fat, cut body fat, build lean muscle, which is going to also, not only improve your overall physique, but also help to ensure that you're not feeling sluggish, feeling lazy throughout the day. It's also going to help to ensure that you're strengthening your joints, building your bone density as well. That's going to be very important, improving your posture. Aerobic exercise, cardio is great, but if you don't have strong muscles, if you don't have strong joints, you're actually creating a lot of dysfunction in your body because you're using poor movement patterns and you don't have the muscles to be able to support your weight. So you're adding those weak muscles on top of you constantly creating shock to your joints every time your limbs is striking the ground. So I always, when I'm speaking to clients, I always recommend, prioritizing strength training first, and then cardio secondary. And then eventually you can kind of switch your prioritization of which one suits your needs and your goals.
All right, Alana.
Thank you, Ryan. I would say, I hate to just be completely neutral, but I would say that they're both essential. And then I could say for myself, I prefer aerobic exercise. I prefer jogging, dancing, just kind of like shaking it out and just feeling awesome. But that being said, I think that it just shows the best exercise is the one that you're going to do and love doing. So I think that's definitely the best exercise. So if I could say, if I had to pick one, Rich, it probably would be aerobic exercise. But
good.
I think that for
a little debate on, I was told that a little debate on the panel would be a good thing. So thank you for that. And then Colleen, maybe. What I've found interesting is I love yoga. It seems like if I had to pick one exercise, and I think we talked, I know that your answer is it would be yoga, but can you get both with yoga? I always picture myself, if it was in one place and I could only do one thing, tell me, yoga, can you do both yoga, aerobic and anaerobic?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there are so many approaches to the practice that you could. If you think about it, how many people in the room have done yoga before? Yeah. So planks, right? And chaturanga, like when you lower down in the push-up, or you jump through and jump back. If you do that quickly enough and enough times, that's going to be very aerobic, right? If you're doing a really fast flow, you're moving in spirals, you're, swinging your body in space, that's going to be circulatory. And you can even add weights. I add weights to my ankles. I add bala bangles to my ankles to increase it, make it harder. Balancing is incredibly important as well for your brain, and as we age, incredibly important for balance. What else should I say on that subject?
I think that's kids. We're a little bit behind.
I feel like that's a little unfair. I feel like yoga is not one exercise. It's a mode of training. It's kind of hard to say.
That's a good. That's actually a good point. Leslie, how much should we be doing of both aerobic and anaerobic? Yeah.
Well, I think like dietary things, it's specific to where you are in your life, at what age, and what you're going through. And I don't think there's a blanket answer for that. I think what your body needs at different times changes. We go through cycles. Maybe you're going through childbearing years. Maybe you're recovering from an injury. It changes throughout our life.
Emily, what does the CDC says? I think that there is a recommended.
The CDC recommends.
Not that that's the right
Yeah,
amount, but what does the
150
CDC
minutes a
say
week
about it?
aerobic or 75 minutes anaerobic, 2-time resistance training, and if you're over 65, balancing. But I just wanted to add, movement is really important no matter what you do. So everybody is, as Leslie mentioned, biologically different. There is something called non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And what that is what you are doing when you're not eating, sleeping, or working out. And those are the things like going to the grocery store, park far away from the door and walk.
So just get into when you're just right, walk to places, don't take Ubers,
Exactly.
Yeah, so those are, that's a really, a good thing. Walk up the stairs. Maybe not these stairs, they're in front of the stage if you're on crutches, but generally walk up the stairs if you can. So speaking of eating, we're going to take a 15-minute break, hard stop 15 minutes. We're a little bit behind time, but we have left in a little bit of fluff, so a little bit of cushion. So let's grab something to eat. You can mingle around. Grab some alcohol at the bar if you want, after you've heard about how evil alcohol is. We'll come back in 15 minutes, and we'll hear. Please take a look at some of the stuff that we have. Sign up for the newsletter. Sign up for coaching. Talk to Adam about corporate wellness programs, and we'll see you in 15 minutes. All right, welcome back. So we're going to hit Principle 6. So as we delve into Principle 6, which is managing a healthy weight, we find ourselves at the heart of a conversation that is as complex as it is personal. So weight management's a journey that intersects with our physical health, our emotional well-being, and societal pressures that help to shape our perceptions of ourselves. It's not merely about the numbers on a scale, but about cultivating a lifestyle that energizes us, respects our bodies, sustains our wellness through balanced nutrition, mindful exercise, and self-compassion. So today we're going to explore this multifaceted topic, debunk some common myths, and share insights on achieving a harmonious relationship with our bodies. Our goal is to arm ourselves with knowledge and strategies that support this holistic health and help to and enable us to live vibrantly, fully engaged in the activities we love. So let's start off on this topic with Andrew. I'd like to talk to Andrea and Ryan about this. I know they're both experts in this area. So what measures? And as we're just writing the book, I was thinking about, is this really the right name for this chapter? Healthy weight probably isn't, quite frankly. But this is the way that people think about it. But what measures should we consider? Let's start with you, Andrea. What measures should we consider for healthy weight management?
I would say considering a holistic approach, and so that could look like weight beyond the scale, specifically, and approaching your healthy weight range from multiple different factors, and so that it's not just focused solely on what you weigh, but how you feel at that weight.
Ryan, what can you add to that in terms of measures? And I know we talked a little bit about there's some measurements at a little commercial for Lifetime. There's some measurements that you guys use there. But tell me, what are your thoughts on measurement?
So I would say that muscle is, rather than crash diets, muscle is going to be one of the most effective ways to getting sustainable fat loss long term. So definitely building muscle and prioritizing building muscle is going to be very important. But at the same time, you can't outwork a bad diet. So you also want to prioritize diet. I always say that diet is going to be 80% of your results. So you want to first start off by prioritizing your eating habits. So perfect example would be prioritizing your first meal within the first hour of you waking up. That's always like my number one fundamental rule to jumpstarting your metabolism, getting your body in a fat-burning mode, and it's just going to lead to better eating habits throughout the day. So if you find yourself, which is often the case with busy professionals, where you're skipping breakfast, going hours without eating, typically eating a really late breakfast or lunch like early in the afternoon, when you prioritize eating something within an hour of you waking up, it's going to help to accelerate your appetite And it's going to increase those hunger signals that you start experiencing throughout the day. And whenever you start feeling those hunger signals, it's a direct indicator that your body and your metabolism is working efficiently.
I guess I screwed that up. I just had my first bite of food. I'm an intermittent faster, and I usually don't eat till 5:30. It's a little late today. So how do we boost our metabolic rate effectively? Andrea, do you have some thoughts on that?
In terms of nutrition, protein-rich foods as a priority is definitely going to help you with that. Also prioritizing your sleep as well. We'll get into this a little later in detox, but sleep is your body's biggest detox pathway, and if you're not getting adequate sleep, you won't necessarily be able to release stored fat effectively.
Yeah, I always found that interesting. You know, if you don't get a good night's sleep, for some reason you're starving. You can get a good night's sleep and you're hungry. I think the hormones that we were talking about the other day can cause that. Ryan, what do you think about how do you increase your metabolic rate?
So yeah, I definitely echo what Andrea said in terms of prioritizing protein-rich foods. And I also want to stress not to avoid carbs, because carbs is going to help to increase your body's insulin sensitivity, which allows your body to utilize carbs for fuel and for energy to be able to supply your muscles with the energy that it needs to continue to repair and rebuild itself. So you want to prioritize complex carbs. So complex carbs are going to be carbs that have a higher fiber content, such as sweet potatoes, quinoa, basmati rice, jasmine rice. So you want to incorporate carbs in your diet. You don't want to avoid carbs altogether. But the key to incorporating carbs into your diet is ensuring the proper timing in which you eat carbs. So a good rule of thumb is you want to try to prioritize carbs in the middle of the day, because that's when your metabolism is going to be most active, and also prioritizing your carbs with your post-workout meal. Because after you do strength training or any form of working out, your metabolism is going to be accelerated, and while you're working out, your body is depleting through your glucose stores, which is going to be the energy, the fuel source that your body uses for energy. So it's going through those glucose stores, so you want to replenish that so that your body can tap into that for not only just basic functioning, but also to be able to build muscle and ensure that your body is in a fat-burning mode throughout the rest of the day.
Dr. Chalemi, how do psychological factors into like emotional eating affect weight, and maybe what are some coping strategies that you might suggest?
I think psychologically, so food is very much emotional and surrounding family. I mean, even in Chinese medicine, food and digestion process comes through the stomach and the spleen, with the main digestive organs in combination with the liver. But the spleen energy represents family, so oftentimes we develop cravings for food, like family food, that we grew up eating when we're in times of sadness or grief or joy, or memories are locked into that food as well. Cravings are often an emotional correlation to something you're lacking emotionally, or something you need, or something you're trying to satisfy with an emotion. Spicy food stimulates the heart, and the cardiovascular gives you like passion. You know, spicy food is often very passionately driven. Passionate cultures, Szechuanese food, Mexican food, any extremely spicy food is a very passionate culture by the nature of the energy that the food stimulates. Because food is essentially energy. We call it a calorie, but it's literally energy. Classically, food is considered a fu, or talisman, or container for energy or qi. So we're made up of qi, we're made up of energy. So the food we eat is called gu qi, not Gucci, but gu qi. Sounds very similar. You'll never forget it. But you need to eat good gu qi, breathe good zong qi, which is air qi, and live a nice, happy, healthy, balanced life. But listening to the emotions and the cravings, if you're craving salty, you're probably a little bit depleted. You're more coming back to like electrolytes. Your adrenals are probably being taxed. Your kidneys are being zonked. You're not sleeping right. If you're craving sweets, you're probably not getting enough protein. Spleen qi, the spleen organ, correlates to the muscles of the body, the physical structures of the body. Sour is the liver. If you're very stressed, you want a little sour to break it up. That's why like Thirsty Thursdays and things of that sort are really popular, because it's near the end of the week. You want to de-stress, give me some lime, give me something, and you unwind that stressful liver qi that's really bound up. And so paying attention to what you're feeling as you're eating, and then how you feel after you eat, is a great indicator of, are you eating properly for your mind, body, and your spirit.
And I also wanted to say balance is key as well, in order to achieve long-term sustainable fat loss and weight loss, you don't want to deprive and restrict yourself of the foods that you enjoy. So I always recommend prioritizing 1 to 2 meals in which you indulge in whatever meals you want, whatever foods bring you joy, so that you have better balance. And that's going to lead to, for one, you're going to be a lot more disciplined with your diet throughout the rest of the week because you have a reward, something to look forward to for all your hard work. But also, it helps to give you some sort of relief so that you can feel like you're enjoying your life, because food is a very emotional thing. It's something that you can't be very rigid about, because when you do, it's going to create a lot of stress and psychological disorders down the line. So you
But
always
doesn't that, I'm going to debate you on this a little bit, isn't that like kind of the one potato chip? Like for me, I used to like sugar. Now I don't like sugar at all. I don't like having sugar. So for me, if I don't have any, I don't miss it. For me, it's sometimes it's kind of well, we're going to talk about in the perils that sugar is an addiction. So I don't like let me just pig out on my favorite meal, because then it's like, oh, now I want it again the next day. If I don't have it, I just turn it off. That's how that's kind of my philosophy on it. And I guess I should let you come back. I was going to move to Andrew, but if you want to comment on that, because I also want to move to some guys, like bring it on.
Yeah. So I think it's very individualized. You have demonstrated that discipline is something that, is very rewarding for you, so you thrive off of discipline. But I think as long as you stick to the 80-20 rule, anybody can thrive off of that. 20% of the time where you just enjoy yourself, indulge, like let's say you're traveling or you're going out with your family and friends, you don't want to constantly be that person that's being very restrictive and rigid about your eating. And then with the 80% of the time, you want to focus on whole, nutrient-rich foods. And honestly, it works twofold. For one, like I said, you have something to reward yourself for all of your discipline, but also the more consistent you are with limiting those processed fast foods or not so healthy foods to 20% of the time, what you'll find is over time, your body's not going to crave those foods the way that you used to, because now you're getting a lot more nutrients into your system. And also, as you start to build consistency with that and you start seeing the results of your hard work, now you don't want to ruin those results by pigging out every single weekend. So you might find that a weekend might come and you're like, you know what, I don't need that food. I don't crave it the same way.
You don't even want to do it. I get it. So Andrea, how often, and we know we had some debate on this too, how often should we be weighing ourselves or measuring? It doesn't need to be weight, whatever the measurement is. How often should we be doing it? And just start it off, I like to measure everything, and I like to do it frequently, just even in business, no matter what I'm doing. Because I consider that mindfulness. Now I understand that there's another side to that, and there can be all kinds of different factors that can impact your weight. And also, we're not talking about eating disorders here, because I think that's a very different thing, or OCD, where you're just really. But if you were, anyway, I'll let you go, because you had some interesting thoughts on this.
Yeah, so you mentioned mindfulness. Mindfulness being the connection between the mind, the body, and how what we do affects how we feel. And so it's definitely going to depend on who you are as a person, what is psychologically healthy for you. There are people who benefit from weighing every day because it helps them track their trends over a certain period of time. And there are people who benefit from really only weighing once per week, maybe, and more or less from there.
Well, I know this is a good one. We can keep going on about this one, but let's move on to eating disorders. So that's really not what we're talking about here, but a lot of people think about that when we're talking about weight management. And I know you're a specialist in eating disorders. You have some background in this. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that topic.
Yeah, so the main thing, especially because we're talking about healthy weight management, is Rich kind of said it, but the caveat that eating disorders are not an issue of weight management, nor are they an issue of vanity. They're very serious psychological disorders that are one of the biggest killers of especially women. Really dangerous, really serious. When we're talking about how do we figure out if somebody has an eating disorder, it's an unhealthy obsession with weight, body, whatever that may be. Body dysmorphia can play into this, and that is when what you think you see doesn't match what is actually there. I'm really oversimplifying because, like I said, this can be very complicated. And then if somebody does think they have an eating disorder, always reach out and get the proper psychological and medical intervention.
That's very good. Dr. Palvin, do you have experience with the GLP-1 receptor antagonist, like Ozempic is a big, I don't know if you want to call it a fad today, but I know it's used to treat type 2 diabetes. It's a hot topic right now. People are wondering, is it a miracle drug? Is this a miracle drug?
It's a very effective drug if used appropriately with the right lifestyle modifications and the right patient with the right healthcare provider. It has huge potential, and I think from what we're seeing with data, not only in terms of weight loss, but in terms of lowering blood pressure and lowering heart risk, and now we're seeing it for lowering addictive behaviors and so on and so on and so on. It's going to be more and more incorporated into our regime. Again, I know when I prescribe for my patients, we have to make sure they're doing the appropriate workout, making sure they're getting their creatine, because what people don't understand is sometimes when they're taking it for weight loss, they're also losing muscle mass, and that's one of the biggest concerns that we have with it is, again, one, people are pushing it to potentially like a bi-dysmorphic type or trying to compete with some influence they see on Instagram or something.
Yes.
So we have to balance what they're using it medically for and make sure they're doing it for the right reasons in the right way. Again, getting a DEXA scan, making sure their muscle mass is appropriate, eating the right diet, and always the goal is the lowest dose for the least amount of time possible, and then discussing them 5-6 months down the road. What is your plan with the medicine, and how are we getting you off of this, and how are you going to maintain this without the medication potentially?
Got it. Yeah, it's a very interesting topic. Usually, when I first start thinking about it, and there do seems to be some, there may be some issues with it. I was thinking, things that are too good to be true usually are, but maybe not, but not always, but not always. So this could be one of them. So it's very interesting. You can see again some goals and habits in this area. I highly encourage people to be thinking about that. One of the things we talk about at Arootah is knowledge does not apply itself. Right? You can come to the seminar, hear about all these things, but if you don't do anything with them, you might have had an interesting night, some good food, but if you don't do anything, what good is it? Right, so knowledge does not apply itself. It's really one of the reasons why I love my coaches, because they hold me accountable to applying the knowledge. So hopefully you guys are at least taking some notes, writing out some goals, thinking about some habits, and figuring out a way to apply that knowledge. So let's move to our next topic, avoiding the perils. So this topic is an interesting one. It's funny, I was writing this chapter when I was in Aspen. A few of you were there. All the perils that are out there, and they're like, "You're writing about how bad alcohol is, but you're having some alcohol. You're static tequila." It's like, I'm writing about the whole. So yes, I do. I can indulge every once in a while. But there are a lot of these perils out there. It really aligns with the first topic of the first principle of prevention. The perils in these high-risk behaviors that pose significant threats to our health and well-being in modern society are out there. There's substances like alcohol, smoking, drug use, processed foods. I considered one of them. Is that one of them? Sugar, I think, is one of the biggest killers out there, one of the most addicting things out there. Environmental pollutants, and it's not just substances, it's also accidents. So things like people not wearing their seatbelt, not wearing helmets when they're riding their bikes. So there's a lot of things that could kill us out there, and you want to increase the odds. This is all about, everything we're talking about here is increasing the odds to a long, happy, and healthy life, which is health span, which we're going to talk about for the final principle. So. Alana, I'm going to throw this one at you. I don't think I prepared you for this one. She's like, "What? I didn't know."
I was not prepared for
that. So I'm going to throw this in, but because really this is one that I specialize in. But commercial interests, I think maybe we talked about it a little bit on the podcast. Commercial interests really seem to be against us here. So how do we, what are your thoughts on that? And why, why would people want us to die an early death? Why would they want that?
So it seems that the commercial interest is prioritizing profit, right? Prioritizing profiting off of selling their product, which they potentially don't care that it's affecting anyone's health negatively. So prioritizing profit over health, I think, is probably the biggest reason why they're doing it. And it's unfortunate. And, I personally hope that we live to see a world where companies are prioritizing health alongside profit. Companies like Arootah, companies that we can support, and then all together, collectively, we can be living in a place where companies are thriving and we're thriving. So that's what I think.
Yeah, it's pretty much it, profit. You said it in the right way, but it's pretty much it, profit. The incentives are not aligned with our health. right? The alcohol companies want us to drink as much alcohol as possible. Same thing with tobacco companies, and then there's a lot of myths that go along with these things that they perpetrate. So, Christine, I'm going to throw this one over to you. I don't think I prepared you for this one either, but our instinctual drive for immediate gratification also has us falling prey to these perils. What can you tell us about that?
I think a lot of these perils rely on our need for that immediate gratification. I think we're bred to be impatient. We are fed with social media to be entertained on the spot. And so we're not really thinking about how it affects us long term. We're not thinking about that deadline we're missing because we're scrolling on our phone, or the bedtime that we overlooked. And if you're out, with friends, you're thinking, yeah, of course I want to have a couple drinks now, I'll feel good now, but you're not really thinking about the next day or even how it affects your work week and at the end of that week. And they prey on this. I mean, it's your focus, it's your attention, it is your need to feel good now rather than understanding what's more fulfilling long term.
Right. I think the key is right. They prey on it. They understand the survival need, our need for immediate gratification that we need to fight against, because we're no longer in that environment. This used to serve us well in the olden days, right? When we needed immediate gratification, we needed to eat right away. In our ancestry, the human race, we almost became extinct because we almost starved. So now we are programmed for sugar. Like we need to get sugars, high calories. We're programmed to use many calories in dense food as possible in as fast a period of time so we don't starve. We're still programmed for that, but our environment is different now. So the processed food companies prey on that. As much sugar as possible. We know we're addicted to sugar. Give it to us now. Sugar, salt, and it really is horrible. They propagate a lot of myths. We're going to go into one in a little bit to really drive the point home. But a lot of these alcohol, tobacco, there's a lot of myths that go along with these that are propagated by these companies to make it seem cool, make it seem that it's great. For God's sakes, the vapes, candy vapes, right? Come on. All right. Who are they targeting with candy vapes? They got to target them young, the tobacco companies, because they're killing their customers. They got to get them younger and younger. It's literally true. They're sitting there plotting, like, how do we get them even younger, right? And then vapes, like, oh, what's the bad things about cigarettes? Oh, they smell bad, so let's make them smell good now, right? So a lot of people think, oh, vapes are probably fine. They're not, not bad. So I'm pretty passionate about it. So we're going to get into some of that stuff. But Sean, what can you say about society and individuals in general? How do we overcome these perils to prioritize our long-term health?
I think largely choosing to actively avoid perils is generally a good thing. And moderation. Moderation is always key. We've talked a lot about the 80-20 principle. So alcohol in small portions, even in ancient China and modern medicine, is considered healthy. There's a lot of articles saying, a 3 to 4 ounce glass of wine is very beneficial to certain capacities. When you start to have 2 or 3 or 4, which is equivalent to a bottle when you look at the end of the night. Oh man, we sat down and had 3 bottles between 2 friends. That's a lot of alcohol. You start doing that 2, 3, 4 nights a week. Now you're on the verge of being identified as a functional alcoholic without even knowing that is really what you are. And many of us, because we're really essentially circling back to the evil that is refined sugar, and what is really that alcohol is really a sugar addiction for more than anything. When I work with people coming from withdrawal, when they're coming out of addiction, the thing they crave most is sugar. You do a midnight run every now and again. If you want to ever volunteer somewhere, you go out and you'll give these guys cups of coffee. They want this much coffee and this much sugar because they're trying to fight their addiction of nature. Literally, they want cups of sugar or gallons of orange juice. But actively being conscious and aware of what you're putting in your body, what you're participating in, what you're promoting, either through looks or imagery or Instagram, all these social media avenues are tremendously. But then getting out and advocating for the health industries to change, support industries that are not necessarily funded and supported by insurance, because insurance is largely we could do a whole other seminar on just how crazy that area is. But going out and telling the people in charge what we need, what we want to support, and promote more programs that encourage prevention and prolonged life and early determination of problems so we can avoid them.
Education is really a big one of them, and coaching, right? For us, that's a big part. Yeah. It's a big part of what we do. And the sugar, I used to have a teaspoon of sugar in my decaf coffee. People are like, why do you drink decaf coffee? It doesn't do anything for you. But yeah, I don't like caffeine. So, and then I started weaning myself down to 3/4, a half, a few granules, and now it's none. This is what I was talking about to you, Ryan. So now if I put a teaspoon of sugar in my coffee, it's like, it's disgusting. It's like so sweet. And, I was, being a good Samaritan the other day, and I got a homeless gentleman cup of coffee. And he's like, put some sugar in it, put some sugar in it. He came in, and he's like, not enough. Literally just kept it going and going and going and going. I was like, now he's really addicted to sugar. So let's take a look. So there's a lot of myths that go along with these, with all of, it seems like with all of these addictions, and certainly the ones where there's commercial interests. And so I've tried to figure out what it is, and we're going to take a look at one of them. So, with these myths, and is it true? It's different than addiction, by the way. If you're addicted to something, that means you can't control it. You're not able to control it. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about before. So let's talk about smoking and vaping. The myths and then the truths behind smoking. This one really bothers me because they're targeting kids. Kids younger and younger are starting to vape. So this one really bothers me. So let's take a look at the myths and actually what's going on. And this really fits in for all you coaches out there. This is another word for, any coaches know what this would be? A myth and a truth? What would it be? A myth?
Limiting and empowering belief?
Limiting and empowering belief. These are limiting beliefs. The limiting beliefs, they're myths. So myth number one is that smoking reduces stress. Right? Does it really, if you think about it, does it really do? People smoke, does it reduce stress? What's actually happening is you're addicted to nicotine, right? So your nicotine levels are here, and then when you don't smoke for a little while, your nicotine levels go down, and your body's like, we need more nicotine. That's why you get stressed. So when you smoke, it brings your nicotine levels back up. So you think that you're relieving stress, but it's the nicotine, it's the smoking that's causing the stress. That's what it is all along the way. So does nicotine really boost confidence? No, nicotine reduces your confidence. If you look at the studies, they've done studies where people, when they go out and they talk to people, no, it does not boost your confidence. Quitting is difficult. Quitting is not difficult. There's a great program out there, The Easy Way, by Alan Carr, where he goes through these myths, and he basically tried to quit for years and years, 10, 15 years. He's like, you know what, just throw in the towel. I'm gonna smoke. But if I'm gonna smoke, I enjoy it. I just can't quit no matter what I do. But if I'm going to smoke, I'm going to figure out why do I smoke? But I'm going to smoke. Why do I smoke? So he started going through all these myths, and and once he figured out that these myths were all bullshit, they're not true. It was easy for him. There was no reason for him to smoke. He's like, wait, there's no reason for me to smoke. So point being is it was psychological. So let's go through a couple more. Smoking increases focus. Same thing. Smoking really increased focus. People think it increases. What happens is the nicotine levels go down, or so you can't focus. Because what are you focused on? Getting your fix. That's what you're focused on. So you get your fix, now I'm able to focus again. It's a myth. You think it's increasing your focus. I won't be able to enjoy life. Ask any people are there any non-smokers? Anybody who's never smoked? You guys enjoy your life? Yeah, you enjoy your life. Ask people who have quit for a period of time. Do they enjoy their life? I think this is the number one reason why people don't quit is because they think they're going to be miserable. They're not going to be able to, they think they're going to be craving all the time. They're not going to be able to, that's an agreement with that. Somebody's like, bullshit. We want to smoke. Stop talking, right? So they won't be able to enjoy life. They think they're going to be craving these cigarettes. They have the special cigarettes. Right, what are the special cigarettes that you can think of, right? The special cigarettes, the ones after drinking, ones after a meal. So that's another one. So will I be able to enjoy my meal? I won't be able to enjoy eating anymore because I enjoy smoking when I eat. So why is that a myth? First of all, smoking destroys your taste buds, right? It's a fact. Destroys your taste buds. Second of all, when you're having a nice meal, what are you thinking about? 20 minutes in, what are you thinking about? Are you thinking about enjoying the meal? No, what are you thinking about? How do you get your fix? Like, I got to go outside. I got to go smoke a cigarette. I got to go smoke a vape. That's what you're thinking about. Sex is more enjoyable, right? Because they're thinking about the cigarette. We're not going to go into that one. I choose to smoke, right? I chose to smoke. I chose to smoke or chose to vape. Nobody chooses an addiction or this disgusting habit. You fell into the trap. You fell into all these myths. The advertisement budget of these companies is ridiculous. It should not be allowed. They're tricking everybody. I can smoke once in a while, another myth. I can smoke. No. That's like taking heroin. I can just take heroin once in a while. Nicotine is one of the most addictive drugs that there are out there. So once you realize that you're being tricked there's some extent to alcohol and a lot of other things. You look at all the commercials for all the processed foods out there. You're being tricked. You're being lured into this stuff, right? So don't do it. Anyway, that's just one example. I can go through this with alcohol. I can go through this with all of these different topics, but we need to move on. Detoxing is a process that transcends fad diets, right? These quick fixes. These are literally killing us with these poisons. We need to detoxify them. So this principle serves as your compass to navigating the complex world of detoxification, shedding light on the mechanisms that safeguard our vitality, our detoxification pathways. And as we explore the crucial balance between oxygenation, nutrition, and elimination, revealing how these elemental processes unite to fortify our well-being against the silent onslaught of toxins, we're going to unlock the secrets to empowering our bodies. So let's talk a little bit about detoxification. It's really important for longevity, by the way. Andrea, how can individuals effectively integrate daily detoxification practice into their busy lives without feeling overwhelmed? So it's not just, I got to have a detoxification diet every once in a while. How do we do that on a daily basis?
Start small. So the first thing that you can do is always stay hydrated. We talked about the importance of hydration before. When possible, if it is feasible financially, choose organic over non-organic because you will lower your toxic load and exposure to pesticides, as well as incorporating exercise, ideally daily. Maybe not daily, but that will help move stagnant lymph in the body. If we don't have an outlet to move it through the body, we will pool toxins. And so those things can help you make it a seamless integration into your life.
Interesting. And Colleen, are there any, on the Ayurvedic side, can you talk about detoxification strategies?
Some easy ones are hot water with lemon in the morning, tongue scraping, dry brushing. You can do abhyanga as well with the correct herbs for your constitution.
What's that?
So your constitution, there are 3.
Or the abhyanga.
Oh, abhyanga, yeah, sorry. Slid into
With
Sanskrit.
Fancy terms.
Yeah, so it's a massage with oil going long down the limbs and circular on the joints, moving towards your heart. And you can do that in the morning and at night, recommended before sauna or hot bath.
Well, let's get some of them on the Chinese side. What are your thoughts on that? I know they're very similar, but
yeah, I mean, the following the meridians versus following the lymphatic tissue, which is essentially the similar flow, moving those long flowing strokes down the legs to promote detoxification through the lymphatic tissues is definitely beneficial. In Taoism, they have different practices for bone marrow nourishing, where you're taking different metal rods and brooms and implementations to strike the body, to break up adhesions, break up accumulations, encourage circulation, to move metabolic waste through the blood to the lymph and through the system and out, which often through sweat and urine, fecal defecation. I know, not dinner time talk, but
well, keeping your obviously your kidneys, your liver,
keeping your kidney, your organs functioning and detoxing properly, so the accumulations don't build up. Because again, the lines of like chronic stress, chronic adrenal fatigue, your organs are going to be put under immense pressure, and rather than detoxifying, a lot of those accumulations are going to form and store themselves in the adipose tissue and the organ viscera. So all the fat is going to accumulate all those toxins. So again, we're having a large amount of adipose tissue or fat tissue is a sign of high stress, high duress, high taxation to those primary organ systems, and then a definite buildup of accumulations of metabolic waste in your system, as well as external waste too, from smoking and vaping and drinking.
Interesting. Yeah, I remember after coming back from a long summer in the Hamptons, and I went to go, so I didn't see Sean, and I would see him weekly. I didn't see him for 3 months, and he examined me with his. He seems to. How many pulses can you check at one time?
Well, there's over 72, but we typically check.
All right, this could take a while. All right.
Yeah.
That's nice. But anyways, checking all the pulses. He's like, your liver's a little taxed. So we're going to put a needle between your toes. Like, no. He puts needles all. I was like, no, I'm going to put it between. It was like, wham! I swear, I felt zap right to my liver. I was like, I felt that in my liver. He's like, what do you think, I'm fooling around here? I was like, wow, this stuff works. So, we talked a little bit about hydration and water. So water, and I think Andrew, you talked a little bit about it. Is there anything else that you can think of, Christina? Oops, sorry, we've got yeah.
I'd just like to add, for the detoxification, I'm a huge proponent of saunas and hydrotherapy. Sweating out the toxins in your pores, especially over the winter when you may not have such a robust cardio exercise routine. And that's how the Scandinavians get through the winter, right? You get all the benefits, must be Scandi, you get all the benefits of cardio exercise if you're sitting in the sauna sweating, right? And your heart's working to keep your body cool. So and I've been lucky enough to hit some saunas and steam rooms and, all these European spas in my early 20s, so I really started incorporating it into my wellness plan. And you sleep better, you eat cleaner, you generally feel lighter and more alert. But if you can do the alternating sauna, cold water, sauna, steam room, cold water, boom, boom. I mean, everybody's talking about the cold showers and the cold plunges now, right? It dates back to thousands and thousands of years. The Romans were doing this, the Greeks were doing it, right? And the Scandinavians were doing it. But if you can add a hydrotherapy and sauna routine to your weekly or daily routine, not only does your stress level is reduced, but you literally just start melting the lymph and the toxins.
That's good stuff. We're actually going to hit on that in the final principle, hormesis, and things what you're talking about. And then, but on the water side, I remember a doctor told me once, he's like, it's like the most important thing you do for COVID is water. The thing that doesn't cost anything, because that's how COVID leaves the body, is through water. Dr. Palvin, gut microbiome, I know we talked a little bit about this before, but in terms of detoxification, is that important for detoxification as well?
It's important that the intestines working well as a whole, so we know that the food's not going to be broken down, your toxins are not going to be removed as appropriately, the gut's not going to move as well if the microbiome is not as healthy, if there's inflammation in the gut, if toxins in the gut, if there's an allergic component. And now a new thing that we're learning is, not new, but it's kind of emerging, is that stress or overuse that people are going to work themselves to 11 when you have an oversympathetic nervous system, your vagus nerve, which is your rest and relax, is not working as well. And now we're doing tools and techniques to kind of balance it. That will help your body detox to kind of reset your body. So it's all these different parts of the mechanism. Your intestines is an electronic pump, or not literally, actually kind of literally it is an electronic pump, hydrostatic pump, and if it's not working, all the different parts are not working. The gut microbiome, the nerves, the muscles, if you're just too tight or there's pelvic floor issues, it just goes, the whole thing kind of, like everything else, kind of works as a big giant circle. One piece isn't working, your detox system is not going to work as well.
Interesting. This is a good segue into the next topic.
Also, just to support detox in general, it's good to think that you're consuming things, not only what you're eating, but what you're putting on your body, what you're cleaning your house with, and just being cautious of what those chemicals are, and how close in contact you are with them. So, do your body a favor instead of having to constantly be doing that detox process, just not exposing yourself to the chemicals in the first place.
That's a great point. Yeah, in my household, we do not have those things in our household. But right, why set yourself up for success? All right, so let's move into Principle 9. Let's continue our panel discussion on transforming stress into strength. So today we're going to embark on a journey to reframe our understanding of stress not as an enemy to be battled, but as a powerful ally. I have a really different opinion than many people on stress. There's a woman, Kelly McGonigal. We were writing a book on habits. I was focused on willpower. I know she wrote a book on willpowers. So I wanted to see if she had a book on willpower. And I looked her up, and there was a TED Talk on stress. It's like, all right, let's check out what she has on stress. It was amazing. The TED Talk's 17 minutes or 19 minutes. Highly recommend you check it out. And she talked about stress. And she talked about how she told her patients that stress is going to kill them. She's been telling them this for years and years and years. She was dead wrong. And what she found out, there are studies that talk about if you think stress will kill you, it will. Right? So now we're finding out there's two different types of stress. But I don't want to steal the panelists' thoughts on this. So Christina, I know you work with me on this chapter. First of all, maybe we can talk about what is stress and why is it necessary?
Stress is such an interesting word because I think it has a negative connotation, but essentially it's a body's natural response to like it's giving you a signal that says something needs to change and action needs to be made. And with that, you can do what with you will. I think stress in itself is the fuel behind evolution. Without the need to change wouldn't happen. You see it in nature all over. The necessity for roots to grow deeper because water's not available, or leaves to grow broader to keep the soil drier when the sun is out. And there's so many different ways in which nature adapts as it's necessary. And so there is this need for stress to occur for us to adapt and grow into our fuller potential of what we're possible of achieving.
So there are two types of stress. I think you're touching upon it. There are two types of stress out there. Can you talk a little bit about both types of stress?
It's interesting to call stress good or bad, and I think that's what you're referring to, eustress and distress. Distress being the negative side and eustress being positive. But then again, to what you're saying with McGonagall, it is really what you make it. I don't think stress is inherently good or bad. It's energy, essentially energy, and stress is a stimuli that is causing a reaction like a habit. And it is your habit to react a certain way. And I think by calling stress good or bad, you're kind of taking your agency away of using that energy to your benefit. And so I think if stress is limiting you and causing you to feel any sort of physical tension, hair loss or skin reactions or headaches or stomach problems, that you're probably not using it in the right way. But stress can be extremely positive. It can challenge people to step out of their comfort zone. It can make people achieve miraculous things. And so, again, it's not necessarily inherently good or bad. Like an elastic band is nothing, and if you stretch it and put tension and stress it, you're able to shoot it across the room. And if you stretch it too far, it'll break. And so there is a balance of understanding when you need to take a step back and create boundaries or whatever it is that you need to feel safe, and also when you need to actually allow that stress to happen for action to take place.
Emily, any thoughts on stress? I know we've talked a lot about longevity and kind of finding, passion and yeah.
Stress can affect everything. It can affect your metabolism. It's a direct risk for obesity. It's a big issue today when you're not sleeping, and you have a lot of stress. That can happen. So it's something to really think about, and being mindful and having a mindfulness practice. I think they say if you meditate 3 to 5 minutes a day, you add maybe 6 years to your life. I mean, that's all you need. So learn how to meditate. There's so many ways to do it.
Can I say something on it too?
Christina's like, really? I'm going to live forever.
Rich, can I mention something on that too?
Yeah, real quick, because we're behind, but real quick.
I think the key is distinguishing the difference between internalizing stress and channeling stress. So me, individually, I thrive off of stress. I'm very competitive, so I look for any reason to channel stress, whether it be if I'm competing in sports or lifting. I'm somebody that actively engages in powerlifting, so I try to draw from whatever stresses is happening in my life, and I apply that when I'm lifting, maximal loads of weight. And I think that, for instance, one of the best ways to combat stress is through exercise, because exercise is a way for you to take that pent-up energy that you're dealing with or coping with and use your physical body to be able to channel it and release that stress physically. And it helps you to just kind of be in a more peaceful and more calmer state.
Yeah, I love that. I have the same. I thrive on stress. I love stress. And I was going to ask Dr. Paulman about the stress hormones and all that, but I think that is what kills you. Is you get stressed and you hold it in. You don't release it. You don't get it out there. I think that's really where it goes. And we practice something at Arootah called mindful procrastination. My team hates this, by the way. I thought I came up with it where I will wait. We won't start on something for a while. Even this webinar, the seminar, the workshop, we don't start right away. we wait a little while because we want to build up some stress. And what I found, and I thought I figured this out myself, and I started researching it, and basically ChatGPT said, no, it's stupid. This is something that very successful people do. Bill Gates, a lot of people do this because they become, the reason why is because you get a little bit of stress, that's when you become the most creative, right? That's the adrenaline builds up. You become really creative. You compress time. If you give yourself, I forget what the law, it might be Metcalfe's law. If you give yourself 3 months to do something, it'll take 3 months to do it. Give yourself a month to do it, you'll do it in a month. Now that's why my team hates this about me, because like, now we're going to start right away. It's like, screw your mindful procrastination. Let's start now so we're not scrambling at the end. Now, so there is an ideal time to start. Right? There's an ideal time to start. You don't want to start too soon, because your work product won't be great. You'll waste time. You won't have the creative energy. You start too late, you might not have a good work product. But for instance, the book came out today. It's a 500-page book today. So we started exactly right. Right, Cousin Jack? He's like, yeah, right. All right. Yeah, Alana had a lot of that.
It was fine.
Yeah, it's all good. Yeah, Alana's, everybody was a big part of that. So, all right, so we're going to move on to the next topic, longevity. This is our final topic, mastering longevity for extended vitality. So really, this is what it's all about. It's what people are looking for, sort of. Dr. Paulvin, longevity versus health span. Like everybody's talking about health span. What are we looking for? Longevity, health span. Can you talk a little bit about health span?
Well, ultimately you want both, but the key one for most people is health span. If you're going to live to 100 years old, you want to be at 99 running the 100-yard dash or climbing a mountain. You don't want to be sitting in a nursing home. So our goal is foremost usually working on health span, which is starting when people in their 20s are getting blood biomarkers done and getting heart tests and DEXs done to figure out what their deficiencies are, and they're exercising and eating appropriately to maximize their health span. Again, the paradigm is flipping where we're not treating disease, we're trying to avoid disease and live a healthier, longer life.
Right, so that's really right. We're looking for both. We want to live long, we want to live a quality life. And we have longevity. We're living longer, but a lot of people just sitting in nursing homes, drooling on themselves and just being in pain for the last 10 years of life. What is that? So Emily, let's go to the blue zones. You familiar with the blue zones, I assume? Can you talk about what are some of the common characteristics of people? First of all, what are the blue zones?
Sure.
And then what are some of the common characteristics that people have that live in these blue zones?
Yeah. Well, a lot of people who don't know what the blue zones are, you may have heard of the Blue Zone Cookbook. There's a guy named Dan Buettner. He was actually my professor at IIN. And he, in 2014, went and studied 5 or 6 areas of the world, one of which is Loma Linda, California, one is in Japan, one is in Greece, one is in Italy, and studied their lifestyle behaviors and came up with what is called the power of 9. And those are the key characteristics of the people that live over 100. These people live a long and healthy life. And so what are they? I have my cheat sheets because there are many. They move naturally. There again, we're talking about neat. They're not actually at the gym pumping weights. They're actually moving in their lives. They're not sitting here on a days. They're going to stand up and they're going to do their work. Many of them garden, and that's a really top area for health and wellness these days because you get in the garden and dig deep with your friends. And that's another thing about the blue zones. They're not lonely. Many of them live in multi-generational households. And when we talk about diet with them, they're eating what is termed as the Mediterranean diet. They're eating a lot of fatty fish. We didn't talk really much about fats tonight, but I will say this. Salmon, mackerel, trout, make sure it's organic, but omega-3s are great. If you're eating farm salmon, most of the time you're getting omega-6s, which is not what you want. Other healthy fats include avocado. These are the things that the blue zones are eating. They relax, they meditate, they practice yoga, they practice the 80% rule. 20% of the time they may be cheating. They eat red meat 1 time a month. That's it. And maybe not at all. Guess what? They drink at 5 o'clock. and they drink red wine, and they don't drink more than one glass. They eat mostly plants. They pick the right tribe. They have positive friends and family. And think about that. That's really important to have positive people in your life. They put their loved ones first. And they belong. They belong to their community. So I think it's a really great study on living longer. One of the biggest epidemics in this country is loneliness. So that was fairly evident during COVID, and it seems to be getting worse. So surround yourself with positive people, reach out to older ones, and be supportive, and live a long and healthy life. But it's a really great study in longevity.
Yeah, that's really good. That's really good stuff. Let's take one more here, and I think might have time for a question or two from the audience. I think I have people submitting them. Dr. Paulvin, well, maybe two quick ones for you. Since we got you here.
No pressure.
Alzheimer's and epigenetics. Can you give us a little something on both those? And
Like that. Like that.
You can probably talk for 4 hours, I know, on each one, but you should give us a little something on those.
Sure. I mean, Alzheimer's. It's a very complicated issue right now. That it's I think 1 out of every 9 people in the U.S. suffer from Alzheimer's at some point in their life. The bad news is the medicines don't work really well. The good news is there's a lot of new studies coming out that other things may help. Like I mentioned before, we know exercise and sleep are probably 2 of the better things that you can do right now. We're now looking at other medications, things like everything from rapamycin, certain supplements that may help. We're looking at the mitochondria in the brain. So there's a lot of potential things coming out. A new study actually came out last week that a 40 hertz frequency, because a part of it is that it works on lymphatics in the brain to drain the brain out, may help Alzheimer's. So what's great now is we're kind of shirking the traditional pharma medicine, trying to treat Alzheimer's, which hasn't worked for 50 years, and now we're taking a little bit of pharma, a little bit of tech, and some natural medicine, trying to mush it all together, and there's great potential. I mean, I've had patients doing that approach where they've gotten just huge improvements very quickly. Red light is another big one. These new red light helmets have shown really great potential. So Alzheimer's, not a great start, but a lot of things coming out. Epigenetics, that's 5 hours. But epigenetics, if you don't know, is kind of based on your DNA, methylation damage to your DNA based on toxins, smoking, alcohol, poor diet. Now we know certain parts of your blood count, like things how big your red blood cell affects your epigenetics. And we know that based on those epigenetics, you have potential for having a longer or shorter life, having a greater risk of heart disease or less. But we also know, which is great, is that if we can alter those lifestyle changes or those stressors or abnormal lab values, we can fix your genetics. So genetics are just kind of a baseline code, but you can address and fix most of those things, and that's what's great about science right now. You're not set in stone no matter what your DNA says. If you adapt a lot of things that everybody talked about here tonight, it can be changed, but part of it is you got to use science to kind of look at it every 3 to 6 months, and then combine that with lifestyle and supplements and other things.
Well, that's amazing. You get that done. That's a real summary, a great summary, and I think it summarizes kind of what we're talking about here today. I think you summarized it very well. The things that we're talking about, the principles in the book, are what you can do. We started out with prevention, right? We want to get into the mindset. Yeah, you can do something about it. It doesn't need to happen, right? So this is prevention. We're going to get into that mindset where the doctor comes in and says, "I'm sorry," right? You don't want to hear that. I don't know if you have. Has it ever happened where you? I'm sure it has. Where you got to give that.
Yes, over 20 years it's happened more times than I wish. Again, that's why we're working on preventing some of these things as we move on in medicine, as opposed to, again, treating the disease, which just obviously doesn't work well.
So that's what we're here for. Look, we sell health coaching. We sell health coaching, we sell corporate wellness. I'm in this business in service, right? I've had my career in the hedge fund industry. I'm in this business, I'm in service. I wrote this book really in service to people. So this is how I've chosen to give back. One of the things, we do a seminar on procrastination because people have problems with procrastination. Everybody procrastinates and they're like, "Oh, help me with procrastination." It's part of our time management seminar, and I talk about it, talk about why people procrastinate, and then how not to procrastinate. But the really difficult issue with procrastination, the toughest type of procrastination, I talk about mindful procrastination, which I like, Then there's procrastination with deadlines. But usually if there's procrastination on something with deadlines, you got a paper, it's due, you get it done. You file your taxes on April 15th. But the real painful issue is procrastination when there is no deadline. There's no deadline to come, visit Ryan at the gym, right? There's no deadline to hire a nutritionist. There's no deadline for running in the morning. There's no deadline for quitting smoking cigarettes or not drinking alcohol. There's no deadline for that, or is there? When I first got this thought, I was like, wait, maybe that's what the word deadline is. The deadline is dead. It's like, maybe that's what it means. I looked it up. Actually, it was not what it meant. It actually meant in the Civil War, if you cross this line, they shoot you for prisoners. Like, that's deadline. But the point is the same. So this procrastination without a deadline, really difficult. That means you need to be proactive, right? So be proactive. Take advantage of what you've learned here. Knowledge does not apply itself. You must make the application. It's not going to happen for you. That's why I love coaching so much. I have a lot of my own coaches, right? That's why I love coaching so much. But they will kick my ass if I don't do it, right? They'll do whatever it takes. That's what our coaches do. So please think about that. If you don't coach with us, coach with somebody else. If you don't set something up, but I highly encourage you to take that test. See what's going on with each of these 10 areas. How are you doing in these 10 areas? Not getting enough sleep? Good chance you're going to get Alzheimer's, right? It increases the odds anyway. Sleep, by the way, increases the odds of almost everything. Heart disease, everything. You drinking too much? Yeah, you're going to increase the odds. The idea, I'm a numbers guy, the idea is to increase the odds for health span, the longest health span that you can have. So I know there was a question about what can they do about it. I think I answered it. I don't know if you have anything to add.
No, I think you're spot on, everything you said there. And I think, just sitting up here and listening to all these amazing panelists, it really just puts everything in perspective for me as well. And honestly, why I took the assessment last night. I work for Arootah. I work with Rich. And when we created this assessment, I needed it. It was for me. It wasn't for the firm or for me to come up here and promote it. It was because, I'm at a stage in my life where I need to look at myself in the mirror and just ensure that I have a plan in place. And I think that goes very much on the individual side and on the corporate side, right? We're also in a world right now where corporate wellness isn't a nice to have. It's a must have for so many organizations. We choose who we want to work with and where we want to spend much of our days by how we feel we're being treated, who we're working with. Finding that work-life harmony, being able to take care of yourself and having people promote that for you. So I think, everything we're talking about today, while yes, we sell health coaching, it's also belief in what we're doing, and that's very much on the corporate wellness side as well, because I wouldn't be here if this wasn't the message. So, that's another thing that, we would love to, continue to make progress on and continue to make changes across this industry.
Thanks, Adam. And, I'm just going to leave you with this. There's... I don't really get it sometimes. We do a lot of different coaching things. We offer, a half hour. It's a minute. Christina does a lot of them. You spend a half hour mostly, or usually more, right? So there's no real, like Adam said, no really time clock. But it's a chance to focus on yourselves. You're not committed to anything. It's not like you have to buy coaching, right? And I really, actually had a whole lecture on it. I think it was this morning. It's like, these calls are not sales calls. These calls are coaching calls, right? They're coaching calls. And bring your toughest problem. And if we don't either solve the problem or make a significant impact, create a significant impact towards solving that problem, you should not sign up for our coaching. That's the sale. The sale is, does this work? Do you want somebody focusing on you? And our coaches care, and we want you to get a little bit invested. Think about the habits. What habits do you want to instill? What habits do you want to eradicate? What are the goals that you want to set? Have a coach start working with you. You get a free hour of it, 45 minutes, whatever it is, you get it free. Free 45 minutes. There's no obligation to do anything. It never ceases to amaze me. A lot of people don't do it. A lot of people do. The only investment, the only thing you lose is your time. I'm going to leave people with that. There's food still. There's some drinks there. Should you choose to drink alcohol after all this, feel free. I think as we heard from Emily, it's okay. At 5 o'clock, so we're a little past that. You can have a little red wine, which is, we only have organic wine here. We don't have hard alcohol. But thank you very much for listening so intently. Thank you, panelists. This is really, really good stuff. Thank you so much, everybody.
stop.